श्री हरे नमः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री परम गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री आदि गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री मूल गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रीमदानंद तीर्थ भगवत पदाचार्यभ्यो नमः। श्री वेदव्यासाय नमः। श्री भारते नमः। श्री सरस्वते नमः। श्री वायुवे नमः। श्री ब्रह्मणे नमः। श्री महालक्ष्मी नमः। श्री नारायणाय नमः। श्री हरे नमः। मोक्षप्रद श्री वासुदेवाय नमः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरे परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरे परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। अविकाराय शुद्धाय नित्याय परमात्मने सदैक रूप रूपाय विष्णवे सर्वजिष्णवे नमो हिरण्यगर्भाय हरे शंकराय च वासुदेवाय ताराय सर्गस्थित्यन्तकारिणे एकानेक स्वरूपाय स्थूल सूक्ष्मात्मने महाव्यक्त व्यक्त रूपाय विष्णवे मुक्तिहेतवे सर्गस्थितिविनाशानां जगतोऽस्य जगन्मयः मूलभूतो नमस्तस्मै विष्णवे परमात्मने। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो ग्रन्थमुदीरयेत्। नारायणं सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितम् अजमिमादेमशं वन्दे भवग्नमरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यम्। अपवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्ववस्थां गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सबाह्याभ्यन्तरः शुचिः। So as today's attendance is extremely low, Swamiji has said that he won't be joining today. So we shall carry on for some time with discussions on the previous topics and some additional insights from the Vishnu Purana. And we would like to inform all the participants who aren't attending that they need to attend and take this up seriously, because otherwise it will not be a good thing and it will not be easy for Swamiji also to explain or to benefit anyone here, especially if the attendance is so low. When more than 100 people have registered for this course, only 3 or 4 people usually attend the class, and today only 2 people have come. And ironically, Aditya Prata, first of all, thanks a lot for attending, because despite you saying that you won't be able to attend regularly due to work related issues, you still managed to come today, but many others haven't come. Anyway, so tomorrow we shall see if at all the attendance is proper, or else we are uncertain whether the sessions will carry on as usual or not. So anyone here any questions from the previous session so far? Okay, so we shall move on then. Fine. So I hope the screen is visible. Okay, so we shall move on. So last time someone had asked a question about the Moha Shastras and why certain texts are not meant to be taken literally, or they're not supposed to be considered as valid pramanas. So the fact is that certain shastras were authored by Bhagwan and the Devatas for the very purpose of deluding people and providing false knowledge. And they were not meant to provide the true knowledge, because we have different shastras for different purposes. So again, the question may arise why that had to be done. So it is simply because it is to enable people to achieve the sadhana, which to perform the sadhana which they which is suited to them, and attain the destiny which they deserve. So there are three categories of jivas, as we have discussed previously. So the sattvikas, the rajasikas, and the tamasikas. So for these three categories of jivas, ideally, practically, any of them would interpret any of the shastras as favoring their swabhava. So it is not that the shastras are responsible for the jivas behaving in a certain manner, but rather the purport or the intent of certain shastras, the way they would propagate the knowledge, would sound as if they are favoring the views of those jivas, and they are suited to their swabhava. So this is why we have certain granthas which talk negatively about Bhagwan, about the Vedas, about so many other shastras, and with the intention of misleading the asuras. So in the Varaha Purana, Sri Madhvacharya quoted one shloka from the two shlokas from the Varaha Purana's Rudra Gita. Actually, the same was quoted by Sri Yamunacharya also in Agama Pramanya. So in the very first sutra of his Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Sri Madhvacharya quoted this: "Esham srujami ashu yojanam मोहयिष्यति त्वं च रुद्र महाबाहो मोहशास्त्राणि कारय अतथ्यानि वितथ्यानि दर्शयस्य महाभुज प्रकाशं कुरु जात्मानाम् अप्रकाशं च मां कुरु अप्रकाशं च मां कुरु." This is important. Here, aprakasham means not visible or not illuminated. Spread darkness with regard to me. In other words, make me hidden. That's what Sri Vishnu instructs Shiva. He instructs Shiva that he should propagate and create Moha Shastras and delude people and spread the false knowledge which keeps people away from Sri Vishnu. So this is why we have certain Moha Shastras which are meant to provide the false knowledge. So this is from the Varaha Purana's 70th Adhyaya, shlokas 35 to 36. The whole Rudra Gita actually favors the philosophy of Vaishnavism and talks about a lot of the tenets of the Vaishnava philosophy, but we won't discuss all that elaborately here. So moving on, there are another set of shlokas from the Padma Purana. Actually, few of these shlokas were from the Skanda Purana originally, but later, due to modifications, and in one part of the Padma Purana, some of them were repeated also. Originally, Sri Madhvacharya quoted some of these shlokas from the Skanda Purana, but they are found very well in the present day Padma Purana. So this is from the Uttarakanda, Adhyaya 71. So there are certain factors which are meant to provide true knowledge, and certain things which are meant to delude. So this can be identified here because it is said, Paramo Vishnu Revaika Tad Jnanam Moksha Sadhanam Shastranam Nirnayasteshu Tadanyan Mohanaya Hi Jnanam Vinatu Ya Muktihi Samyam Cha Mama Vishnuna तीर्थादि मात्रतो ज्ञानम ममाधिक्यम च विष्णुतः अभेदश्च अस्मद् मुक्तिराम हरिणा तथा. So this shloka, the first shloka says Paramo Vishnu eva ekasta tatjnanam moksha sadhanam. The one and only Vishnu is the supreme one and the highest one. This is what is true knowledge or jnana, and that is the sadhana of moksha. Among the shastranam nirnayastyesha tad anyat mohanaya hi. Among the shastras, this is their conclusion, their nirnaya, their final declaration is this. They all conclude that Vishnu alone is the supreme one. So tat anyat mohanaya hi, which means anything else, anything which is not this or different from this, is for the sake of delusion indeed. So these shlokas actually summarize the purport of the shastras very well. Then the next shloka says, Jnanam vinatu ya muktihi samyam cha mama vishnuna. Tirtadi matrato jnanam mamadhikyam cha vishnutaha. So obtaining moksha without jnana, the idea of obtaining moksha itself is a type of delusion. That, and similarly Shiva says samyam cha mama vishnuna, my equivalence with Vishnu, because many people propagate the idea that Shiva and Vishnu are equal with false knowledge, or the smartas say that Shiva and Vishnu are one and the same person. So this also is false knowledge again, because the shastras have clearly given a hierarchy among the devatas also, as we discussed previously. So obviously it doesn't mean that the devatas are equal or they are one and the same, because again the shastras have clearly mentioned this. So similarly, that is why the Anushasana Parva of the Mahabharata says Alodya sarva shastrani vicharya cha punaha punaha idam ekam sunishpannam dhyayo narayanaha sada, which means aggregating all the shastras and repeatedly inquiring into them again and again. The one conclusion is meditate on Narayana always. As we discussed, this dhyana on Narayana is what can enable one to obtain jnana and aparoksha jnana especially, and obtain moksha also subsequently, and practice bhakti properly. So this is what we had discussed previously also. So similarly, in the Ashwamedha Parva of the Mahabharata, it is said, Rudram samashritam deva rudro brahmanam ashritaha. Brahma mamashrito rajan na aham kanchid upashritaha. Mamashrayo na kaschittu sarvesham ashrayo hi aham. So Sri Krishna says this in the Mahabharata. Rudram samashrita deva. Rudram samashritaha devaha. This means that Rudra is the refuge for all the devas. Then Rudro Brahmanam ashritaha. Rudra himself takes refuge in Brahma, because Rudra Deva or Shiva is the son of Brahma. Brahma mamashrito, which means Brahma takes my refuge. So Krishna says that this is the hierarchy. Na aham kanchid upashritaha. I am not under the refuge or subordinacy to anyone, or to anyone else. So this means that here again one can notice the concept of swatantra and aswatantra here. So again here Sri Krishna himself says that he is swatantra, that is because he alone is the one who does not depend on anyone else for his existence. But the devatas, they have a hierarchy, and finally every entity depends on Bhagavan himself for their existence. Mamashrayo na kaschittu sarvesham ashrayo hi aham. No one is my refuge, because I am everyone's refuge indeed. This is what this shloka means. Mamashrayaha na kaschit tu sarvesham ashrayo hi aham. So any questions still here?
Hare Krishna, brother. So, what is the difference between Vishishta Dvaita and Dvaita?
There are many actually. So that is not really a topic we would prefer discussing here. But to give a brief idea, Vishishta Advaita basically is somewhat similar to Advaita actually, more than Dvaitavada. So and the basic differences are that first of all there are many similarities, especially between most of the Vaishnava philosophies, and especially the Sri Vaishnava darshana and the darshana of Tattvavaada also. So in the Vishishtadvaitins believe that they have certain similarities with the Advaita Darshana, that is, such as Bhagwan being the same as Prakriti or the physical matter also. So they believe that the physical matter itself is a manifestation of Bhagwan, and that itself is Bhagwan, while we, the Jivas, are separate and we are different entities. But they believe that the physical world is actually Bhagwan himself, just as how the Smartas say.
Sorry, Brata, just for disturb this your talk. I just want to know regarding our points, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. So, what is the difference between Vishishta Advait says Lord Shiva and Vishnu, and Dvaita according to you says? That's why I want to know what is according to Vishishta Advaita.
There's no difference here in most of the devatas and their positions, except for a few differences, because all of these come from the Vaishnava Agama Shastras only. So they are universally accepted by most of the Vaishnava sampradayas. But few sampradayas like Gaudiyas differ on this matter, and their concept of Shiva especially varies.
Oh, thank you. Can we have one book on Shiv Tattva so we can read briefly?
We'll think of that, but that doesn't require any book as such, because there isn't a lot to describe actually, because the Shastras are clear that Shiva is the Abhimani Devata of the Manas, that is mind. So we may write a blog article on this sometime. We've been thinking of doing that since a while now, so we may do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so returning to the shloka which we were discussing from the Padma Purana, so those shlokas say that in the 71st Adhyaya, it is said, Abhedaschar Abhedaschasmad Adinam Muktanam Harina Tatha Ityadi Sarvam Mohaya Khatyate Putra Na Anyatha. So here Shiva tells Skanda that even Abheda or of us, that is the Jivas, and even the Devatas, or even the higher Devatas like Shiva, then the Riju Devatas, and the literal non-difference between the Mukta Jivas with Hari, this is also Mohaka. This is also meant for deluding people. Ityadi sarvam mohaya katyate. All these indeed are said only for moha, that is delusion, and putra nanyata. So this is what they are said for, nothing else. So this means that all these are meant for deluding people. So even the Mukta Jivas are also not equivalent to Bhagwan at all at any cost. Even this is said in the 15th mantra of the Kata Upanishad's second Adhyaya's first volley, where it is said that just as one quantity of water poured into another quantity of water becomes similar, so similarly the Jivas and Ishvara become one with each other after moksha. Now here clearly it says Tadruk eva bhavati, Tadruk eva bhavati, which means that they become similar alone, which so this again highlights the fact that there are certain similarities which one obtains with respect to Bhagwan after achieving moksha, but under no circumstance will there be a possibility of the Jiva becoming one and the same, or even being one and the same even otherwise also. And this is actually stated again in the very last pada of the Brahma Sutras, actually. In Adhyaya 4, pada 4, towards the end of the Brahma Sutras, usually the beginning and the end of any text indicate its conclusion and the ultimate tatparya of the text. So here also one can notice that the fact is that the Brahma Sutras also intend to propagate the same meaning. That once again, Bhagwan is always superior to us, and we will not gain so many capabilities, especially to create and destroy the universe and the rest. That is what it says. But obviously, Bhagwan is infinite times powerful and more and higher and superior to us. So these are the true purports of the Shastra, but again, these are hidden usually, especially in Kali Yuga, and that is why we have so many philosophers who've given a lot of different meanings, but none of them really truly accord with what the Shastras say if you study them from an unbiased perspective. So moving on, now how do we reconcile these Shastras? That may be the question one may have. So actually in the Mahabharata itself, there are many shlokas praising the philosophy of Pancharatra, that is the Vaishnava philosophy. So it has been said many times. For example, there is one very popular shloka which says Pancharatrasya Kritsnasya Vakta Narayanaha Swayam Jnaneshu Jnaneshu Eteshu Rajendra Sarveshu Etad Vishishyate. Among all the sources of knowledge, among all of them, Pancharatra has been propagated entirely by Narayana himself, so this is superior. So this shloka was quoted by Sri Madhvacharya, Sri Jayatirtha, and Sri Ramanujacharya also. And similarly, there are many such shlokas, but more than that, and most importantly, in the Varaha Purana, Varaha himself says, Didam Pancharatram me Shastram Parama Durlabham Tad Bhavan Tadbhavan vetsyate sarvam mat prasadat na samshayah. Vedaischa pancharatraischa bhaktya yajnaistathaiva cha drishyoham nanyatha drishyo varshakotis shatairapi. This Shastra called the Pancharatra belongs to me in its entirety, and this is the highest means by which one can attain my grace. So there is no doubt about this. This is what Varaha himself says. And in the next shloka, this is from the Varaha Purana, Adhyaya 66, shloka 17 to 18. So in the 18th shloka, it is said, Vedaischa Pancharatraischa Bhaktya Yajnais Tataivacha Drishyoham Nanyatha Drishyo Varshakoti Shatairapi. Which means I am supposed to be seen through the Vedas, the Pancharatra, Bhakti, and Yajnas. And by those alone. I am not to be seen by any other method, even in hundreds of crores of years. This is actually again discussed in the second adhyaya of the Brahma Sutras as well, where it is mentioned that even if one tries to perform certain upasana, if it is asad upasana especially, now by practicing the procedures of certain different philosophies, one will ultimately not actually attain the aparoksha jnana and the proper state of total spiritual enlightenment and moksha which one is expected to obtain. So this is not the fault of the Shastras, but this is because those Shastras are not meant to provide it actually at all. This is what is discussed again in the Brahma Sutras as well in relation to most of the other darshanas. Any questions still here?
I have question, but in a different. I just want to know what in Madhvas, what are they thinking about Gaudias? So can you give me answer?
That depends on the person. You have to ask you have to ask one person, they'll give you their opinion. That's all. There's nothing to think about that. Gaudiyas are a different sampradaya and we are a different sampradaya.
Because according to Gaudiya, they are saying they are Brahma Madhva Gaudi Sampradaya. So that's why I'm asking.
Even if the Guru Parampara has been the same, because that is a disputed matter actually, whether the Guru Parampara of Gaudiyas and Madhvas was the same or not. If at all it had been the same, then even then also the philosophies are totally different. So that remains all the time. So one cannot say that they're the same Sampradaya. The only common things are just like most of the Vaishnava Sampradayas, there are many philosophical tenets which are shared among the Sampradayas, and it is likely that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may have received some diksha from one of the Madhva philosophers, and because of that, there may be something common in the Guru Parampara. But again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy differs heavily from this, and similarly, he took sannyasa from a Mayavadi, but again, there too, his philosophy differs again from the Mayavadis also heavily. So he is not a Madhva as such, and Gaudiyas aren't the same as Madhvas, but the philosophy has similarities. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we might think so. How should we approach the other shastras? So this has again been explained in the Mahabharata itself, in the same part of the Moksha Dharma Parva, in Adhyaya 359 in the Kumbhakonam edition of the Mahabharata, in the Shanti Parva, it is stated. So this shloka has also been quoted by Sri Madhvacharya in the Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya second Adhyaya. Many of them are quoted actually. So here there is one shloka which says, Jnaneshveteshu Rajendra Sankhya Pashupatadishu Yatha Yogam Yatha Nyayam Nishta Narayanaha Param. So here this is actually slightly important. Here it is said, among the different sources of knowledge, Rajendra, from Sankhya, Pashupata, and the rest. So here Pashupata is the Shaiva philosophy. Here too specifically Pashupata has been mentioned. So Yatha Yogam Yatha Nyayam Nishta Narayanaha Paraha, which means they should be interpreted through Yoga, Nyaya, and all the other Shastras in accordance to Narayanaha Paraha, that is, Narayana being the Supreme One. So here, with reference to Vishnu's supremacy, those shastras have to be reinterpreted. The shlokas in the even the shlokas in the Shaiva and the Brahma Puranas also have to be reinterpreted the same way. So they are acceptable in this sense, as long as they should be reinterpreted in a certain way, and certain things again they are from the perspective of darshana bhasha. They are specific to that darshana, and it doesn't mean that that darshana is true. It is simply in the Puranas, especially where one can find darshana bhasha. So when darshana bhasha is used, it means that it is simply referring to those to the incidents given in the Puranas from point of view from that darshana, but it doesn't mean that the darshana itself is true or those events actually happened. So this is how one should approach the shastras. So we shall briefly discuss the last part of the fifth adhyaya of the Vishnu Purana's sixth amsha, which we have translated and published on our website. Yes, in case reinterpretation isn't possible in certain cases, we have to reject them as mohaka vakyas. Not reject them actually, we have to just consider them as mohaka vakyas and know that they are speaking from the point of view of darshana bhasha. That is, they are not to be taken true at face value. It is simply stated that from the point of view of Shaiva philosophy, from the point of view of Yoga Darshana, from the point of view of Nyaya philosophy, so and so is stated, so and so is believed by the followers of those philosophies. So but that doesn't mean that those philosophies are literally true. Okay, so this is the translation of the Vishnu Purana which we have published. So the previous shlokas here discuss about the definition of Bhagwan, which we have discussed previously, and those who are interested to learn more about this can refer to the translation on our website. So moving on, we shall discuss some more shlokas here, which we hadn't fully covered elaborately in the previous sessions. ज्ञानशक्ति बलैश्वर्य वीर्य तेजांस्य शेषतः भगवच्छब्दवाच्यानि विना हेयैर्गुणाधिभिः सर्वाणि तत्र भूतानि वसन्ति परमात्मनि भूतेषु च स सर्वात्मा वासुदेवस्ततः स्मृतः खाण्डिक्यजनकायाः पृष्ठः केशिध्वजः पुरा नाम व्याख्यामनन्तस्य वासुदेवस्य तत्त्वतः भूतेषु वसते सोऽन्तर्वसन्ति अत्र च तानि यत् धाता विधाता जगतां वासुदेवस्ततः प्रभुः स सर्वभूतप्रकृतिं विकारान् गुणादिदोषांश मुने व्यतीतः अतीत सर्ववर्णोऽखिलात्मा तेनास्मृतं यद्भुवनान्तराले समस्तकल्याणगुणात्मकोऽसौ स्वशक्तिलेशावृतभूतवर्गः इच्छागृहीताभिमतो हृदेहः संसाधितो शेषजगद्धितो यः तेजो बलैश्वर्यमहाबोध सुवीर्यशक्त्यादिगुणैकराशिः परः पराणां सकलान् यत्र क्लेशादयः सन्ति परारेषो स ईश्वरो व्यष्टिसमष्टिरूपो व्यक्तस्वरूपो प्रकटस्वरूपः सर्वेश्वरस्म सर्वदृक् सर्वविच्छ समस्तशक्तिः परमेश्वराख्यः संज्ञायते येन तदस्तदोषं शुद्धं परं निर्मलमेकरूपं सन्दृश्यते वाप्यवगम्यते वा तज्ज्ञानम् अज्ञानमतोऽन्यदुक्तम्. So this last shloka which we discussed here, as we can see, is repeated even in the Bhagavad Gita. So in the Bhagavad Gita's 18th Adhyaya, 20th shloka, one can notice a repetition of this shloka, the same purport which has been shared here. ज्ञानशक्ति बलैश्वर्य वीर्य तेजांसि अशेषतः भगवत् शब्द वाच्यानि विना हेयैर्गुणादिभिः. Okay, there was a bit of a technical glitch. So anyway, here this shloka has been actually quoted by Sri Ramanujacharya in the Vedartha Sangraha, and Sri Parashara Bhattar has also quoted it in Bhagavad Guna Darpanam, which is his commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranama. So here, these are the basic qualities of Bhagavan. That is, Jnana, Shakti, Bala, Aishwarya, Virya, Tejamsi. So Tejas, that is radiance. Jnana, knowledge. Shakti is energy. Bala is strength. Aishwarya is opulence. Virya is power. So, and Tejas is radiance or glory. One could also use the word Tejas to refer to that. That is why the word Tejas also is used as a reference to fire or Agni, which is one of the Panchabhutas again. So this is again a summary of the definition of Bhagwan, of the word Bhagwan, which has been explained in the previous shlokas of the Vishnu Purana. So moving on, here the next few shlokas actually discuss the etymology of the term Vasudeva and why Bhagwan is known as Vasudeva. So this is a commonly associated term, especially with Sri Krishna, that we have heard, and even with Vishnu's Vyuha and Paravasudeva. So his highest manifestation, who resides at Paramapadam, is usually referred to as Paravasudeva, and the next manifestations are his Vyuhas, who are four forms of Vishnu, that is Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So we have shared an article on Vaishnavism in our Telegram group also for the course participants, and there we have already covered all this. And similarly, we have also discussed about this in our YouTube videos also a few times, and we have also mentioned the same on our blog also. The same article is available on our blog at blog.bhaktideeds.org/Vaishnava-dharma. So one can refer to this link and view the same article there. There is an option to download the article, which has a PDF with more detailed information on the Pancharatra philosophy as such. So moving on, the next shloka, the 80th shloka here says, Sarvani tatra bhutani vasanti paramatmani bhuteshu asa sarvatma vasudevas tatah smritaha. All of them here, all the bhutas reside in him in Paramatma. So because of that, now this is again, this example is similar to the one used in the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan is, Shri Krishna himself says that everything resides in him, but he resides in no one. Now again, as we discussed previously, one shouldn't think that this means that Bhagavan is not omnipresent, but it would sound as if the jivas are omnipresent. This is not what it means. It means that all entities in the universe reside in him, in the sense that they depend on him for their existence, just as a liquid in a container is dependent on the container for staying in that state and for not being spilled and for staying as it is. So same is the case with Bhagwan and the jivas, but he does not depend on anyone else. He is not dependent upon anyone else for his own existence, because he is Swatantra, but all other entities are Aswatantra. So moving on, and that is why he is said to be everyone's Atma, and also because he is the Atma of everyone, in the sense that he resides within the Atma, within the soul, as the Paramatma. That is why he is said to be the supreme self, the highest self, or Paramatma. So in the next adhyaya, in the 6th and 7th adhyayas, there is a discussion between Kandikya Maharaja and Keshidwaja. So there they discuss about Bhagwan and about Aparoksha Jnana and so many other important philosophical topics. So since that is much longer than this, we shall not discuss it here, and we would always recommend everyone to go through this. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th adhyayas of the Vishnu Purana 6th Amsha especially are very crucial and have a lot of information, as we have been repeatedly mentioning previously too. So here it is explained. So here Kandikya had asked Keshidwaja previously for an elaborate explanation of the name Vasudeva and about his tattva, that is in accordance to his position as what kind of entity he is. So for that, Keshidwaja gave this answer, that Bhuteshu vasate saha antar vasanti atra cha taniyat dhata vidata jagatam vasudevah tatah prabhuhu. So he resides internally in all the living entities especially, and they reside in him in the sense that they are dependent on him. So that is why he is said to be Vasudeva, because he resides everywhere in everything, and he is the creator and the preserver of all the worlds. So he is Vasudeva Prabhu. Prabhu means the master or the overlord of everything. So here one can refer to these explanations for more detailed information. So again, this is the shloka. Matstani sarvabhutani chaham na chaham teshu avastitah. So this is the shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that Matstani sarvabhutani, all the bhutas or the jivas and all other entities can also be referred to as bhutas. Matstani sarvabhutani nacha aham teshu avastitah, which means I am not established in them, in the sense that he doesn't depend upon them for his existence. Next comes the most important shloka, that is स सर्वभूत प्रकृतिं विकारान् गुणादि दोषांश्च मुने व्यतीतः अतीत सर्ववर्णा अखिलात्मा तेनाश्रितं यद् भुवनान्तराले. So स सर्वभूत प्रकृतिं विकारान् गुणादि दोषांश्च मुने व्यतीतः. He is discrete, he is separate, he is free from all the bhutas, the prakriti, that is the physical matter, then vikaran gunadi doshamscha, from all the defects, then all the impurities and all the defective qualities. He is free from mutations, changes, and anything. That is why in the beginning of the second adhyaya of the first amsha of the Vishnu Purana, we have certain prayers which we have we have mentioned this in our Tattvavaada Vaishnava handbook also. So that says avikaraya shuddhaya nityaya paramatmane sadaika rupa rupaya vishnave sarva jishnave. He is said to be avikara, means without vikaras, that is mutations or any defects as such. So here again, Atita Sarva Varano Khilatma Tenastritam Yad Bhuvanantarale. He is he's superimposed over all the realms, even in the interstitial spaces. This is very important again. Unlike the physical matter, he is omnipresent everywhere and he is also separate from them. He is not one and the same as us or the physical matter. Many of the Mayavadis, especially, or we should say the e-smartas nowadays, who are more of who are not the real traditional Mayavadis also, but who have some minor knowledge of that and try to comment on other philosophies with that. Especially we see many of them on the internet, they keep making this claim with their limited flawed knowledge that because Bhagavan is omnipresent, doesn't it prove Advaitavada? They neither know the difference between Advaitavada and other darshanas, nor do they know what Tattvavaada even says about the relationship between Bhagavan and all the other entities. The only philosophy which does not acknowledge that Bhagavan is omnipresent are the Abrahamic philosophies, obviously, and this is how these people misinterpret the darshan of Tattvavaada and spread misinformation and have this wrong notion that they know better than us, or that our philosophy is easily disprovable. So obviously they have made the mistake of taking something very basic which is accepted by all the Hindu darshanas, and they have misinterpreted it and stated that this is not accepted by us, but that is not the case. But here these three shlokas here from the 79th shloka, and most importantly the 83rd shloka, and then the next few shlokas also, these have elaborately explained this and perfectly established most of the tenets of Tattvavaada here. So he is free from all the defects, he is free from any limitations, and he is also totally discrete from all these entities. But again, he exists in all of them. He is the root cause of their existence. That is why in the Narayana Upanishad also it is said that he is Sarva Karana Karana, and he himself is Akarana. That is, he is the cause of all causes, but he himself is causeless. He does not have anything which causes his existence. So this is why it is said, and he is superimposed even in the interstitial spaces, where even between the subatomic particles, molecules, where apparently nothing may exist. That is why in our video on our YouTube channel, where we explained how Vishnu itself means Brahman, we have explained that the word Vishnu is derived from the word Vish or Vyash, which means in the Nirukta it is defined as pervading or being omnipresent. So here there are more additional pramanas which are favoring the stance of this shloka, and which have explained the meaning very well. So there are many such shlokas anyway in the Puranas and the Vedas also. So we shall elaborately not deal with these here due to shortage of time. But most importantly, there is this passage in the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, Adhyaya 46 in the Kumbakonam edition and 48 in few other editions. So in the Shanti Parva, there is one entire stuti by Bhishma actually. So Anadi Antam Param Brahma na Deva Rishayo Viduhu. Na Deva Rishayo Viduhu. Na Devaha Rishayaha Viduhu, which means not the Devas and the Rishis know him. The Devas and the Rishis do not know him at all. Eko ayam Veda Bhagavan Dhata Narayanaha Harihi. There is one person who knows him. Eko ayam Veda. Veda literally means that which is known or to know. That is why the Vedas are called Veda, because they are something which is known, which contain the knowledge which is to be known. Bhagavan Dhata Narayano Harihi, which means the only one who actually knows him is Bhagavan, the creator, Narayana, Hari, that is himself. He himself knows him and no one else knows him completely actually. Not even Mahalakshmi Devi knows him very well, because she too keeps trying to count his gunas, but she too can not complete that because he is infinite. So there is no possibility of reaching an end. That is why he is said to be Anadi Antam. Anadyantam Param Brahma na Deva Rishyo Viduhu. And here again in the Bhagavata Purana also it is said, Na Yasyadyantau Madhyam cha. He does not have a beginning, end, or middle. So again, he is free from all such things. He is complete in himself. These are certain qualities of Bhagavan which are difficult, which may be difficult for many to comprehend, especially with limited exposure to philosophy. So it's okay if there is a difficulty, but with proper learning of the Shastras here and there, one can achieve that. And the next shloka says, Samasta Kalyana Guna Atmakosau Swashakti Leshavrita Bhuta Vargaha Icha Gruhitabhid Matorudeha Samsadhito Shesha Jagat Hito Yaha. So he is one with all sorts of Kalyana Gunas. That is, he himself has all the auspicious qualities. Again, this is a refutation of the Smarta idea that Bhagavan is Nirguna, because here it is directly said, Samasta Kalyana Guna Atmako Asau. The previous shloka actually said, Gunadi Doshamscha Mune Vyatitaha, which means that he is free from all the gunas and the defects. But here the shloka specifically meant he is free from defective qualities. This is how people, the Mayavadis especially, have claimed that Bhagavan is totally nirguna and Parabrahman is free from any gunas or qualities. But this is not the case. He has infinite qualities. So there are similarly more supporting statements here. So this shloka has been quoted from the Padma Purana. In the Brahma Sutra Bhashya of Sri Madhvacharya, these two shlokas have been quoted. Then most importantly, here Sri Krishna himself says in the Bhagavata Purana's 10th skanda, Adhyaya 48, shloka 37, Kvachid Rajamsi Vimame Parthivan Yuru Janmabhi Gunakarma Bhim Dhanani Name Janmani Karhichit. Gunakarma Bhim Dhanani Name Janmani Karhichit. Then gunas, actions, and abhidhanas, that is the names or the designations Bhagavan has, not even in infinite number of janmas is it possible to count them. But one may, even if one is able to count all the sand particles on the earth, this itself is literally impossible. So this shloka is an example of an Tattvavaada. It uses a figure of speech and intends to convey a certain meaning. And here there is also there is a hyperbolic exaggeration. There is a hyperbolic statement here that even if one is able to count all the sand particles on the earth, it is impossible to count the number of gunas, karmas, and names even over several janmas. And here there is another shloka quoted by Sri Parashara Bhattar in Bhagavad Guna Darpanam. So, Chaturmukha Ayuhu Yadi Kote Vaktro Bhavet Naraha Kwapi Vishuddha Chetaha Sate Gunanam Ayut Air Anekaikam Amsham Vedan Nava Devavara Prasida, which means here if one has Chaturmukha Ayuhu, the Ayushya, that is the lifespan of Chaturmukha Brahma. So with the lifespan of Chaturmukha Brahma and with a crore tongues, not even the lifespan of Brahmadeva is sufficient. A crore tongues are also required, because even Brahmadeva is unable to describe his qualities. Then with a pure mind and Vishuddha Chetaha, with a pure consciousness or mind, And with this, he may be able to speak gunanam ayutair anekair akamsham, which means a small portion, 10,000th portion of your gunas. He may be able to describe a 10,000th part. Now again, this is an Arthavada, because here not even a 10,000th fraction can be described even by such a person, or even with one who has infinite life, because despite that, Bhagwan's gunas are infinite, they're ananta. So again, it is actually impossible. But here again, here it is exaggerated and said it might be possible, but here actually we know that it is not possible. This is used to convey the meaning that even with so much, one cannot describe his gunas at all. That is that is how much greater he is than us infinite times, by which we cannot even imagine. Yes, Mayavadis very much say that Brahman has no qualities, and yeah, they say he is Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvajna, all that, because the Shastras say that, and those are indeed gunas. But some Mayavadis have learned this twisted argument that to say that they are not gunas, but they are so and so lakshanas or characteristics, all that. But that doesn't matter, because guna simply means quality or characteristic, and these are indeed his own characteristics. So again, he is not nirguna. So these are the next shlokas, which again here it is said that Tejas, Bara, Aishwarya, and Ahava Bodha, that is proper wisdom and knowledge, Suvirya, auspicious courage or power, and Shakti Adi, which energy and the rest. These gunas are again here also. Again, one can notice that the word guna has been used, which means which again proves that gunaika rashihi, guna eka rashihi, which means that these qualities are collectively present in him. Paraha paranam, the supreme one or the highest one among all the highest ones, the best ones. Sakalana yatra kleshadayah, he is completely among all the all the greatest ones, he is the greatest. And na yatra kleshadayas santi paravareshu, so na kleshadayah santi, klesha and others, that is distresses and other defects, do not exist in him. He is paravaresha, the great master. स ईश्वरो व्यष्टि समष्टि रूपो व्यक्तस्वरूपो प्रकटस्वरूपः सर्वेश्वरः सर्वदृक् सर्ववित् च समस्तशक्तिः परमेश्वराख्यः. The reason I split some words in this shloka is because Sarveshwara, Sarvadruk, Sarvavit, Sarvadruk, Sarvavit Kavihi. There is one shloka in the Vishnu Sahasranama which actually goes like this, and those who regularly chant the Vishnu Sahasranama may find this familiar, because here this is a partial repetition of the same names from the same shloka of the Vishnu Purana. So here it is said that he is Ishvara, the master, and Vyashti Samashti Rupa, in the form of the individual and the composite entities. He is here again, when he is said to be the individual and composite entities, it doesn't mean that those entities literally are him. It is said that he is everything. This is how one should interpret the apparent statements many times which one may come across in the Shastras, which state that he is everything, or he is the world, he is non-different from all entities. We say that this person is the world for me, or this is everything for me. That doesn't literally mean that everything literally is that person or that object which we treasure. So same is the case here. This is the actual comparison and the reason why Bhagwan is said to be like that. But the Mayavadis use such statements to claim that Bhagwan himself is all those entities. So he is Sarveshwara, Sarvadruk, which means one who sees everything. Sarvavit, omniscient, one who knows everything. All these have pretty much the same meaning, so there is not much of a difference here. But again, they signify his qualities differently and describe them differently. So, and as we know, the Vishnu Sahasranama alone has 100 layers of meanings. So there are so many types of meanings, but again, they are difficult for us to comprehend very well, especially without the help of expert gurus and the devatas also. But as long as we understand the basics as in accordance with our capacity, it is more than enough. And as long as we are able to progress in our sadhana. So he is again Samasta Shakti, Parameshwara Akhya. Parameshwara Akhya. He is known as Parameshwara and he has all sorts of energies. So finally, this chapter concludes by saying, Sanyayate yena tadasta dosham shuddham param nirmalam eka rupam. Samdrishyate vapi avapya avagamyate va tat jnanam ajnanam ato anyat uktam. So by that knowledge through which one can know this person who is pure, devoid of defects, and the Supreme One who is free from all the impurities and has a form free from all the impurities, and through which he can be contemplated upon and he can be seen and he can be known. So that is actually said to be knowledge or jnana. That is the true jnana which we need. And anything else other than this is ajnana, because that will deviate us from our sadhana and take us away from him. Now, how to lead a sattvic life while also living in this material world? Again, this is why we need aparoksha jnana, or even the jnana of the shastras, which we can apply wherever we can to our capacity till we attain aparoksha jnana. So one has to always apply this knowledge and remember that Bhagwan is the ultimate goal of all our actions. As said by Guruji also in the previous sessions, even actions like eating and sleeping also, even during such actions, we should remember Bhagwan and we should know that he is our ultimate goal and he is our ultimate refuge. So it is attaining him and knowing his presence within us and how he is always our well-wisher and one who helps us all the time in all situations, which is why in the previous few shlokas, in one of them it was said, Jagat Hitaha. He is the benefactor of the whole world. This must be kept in mind all the time. So we shall conclude here for today, as we have covered whatever we could in this duration of time. And once again, we thank both of you for attending today's session, especially when no one else has attended strangely. And yeah, so once again, we would like to thank those who have attended, and we would again request everyone else also to regularly attend the sessions, because it will not be possible for Swamiji to explain properly or benefit anyone if there are very few people, and especially when we've got more than 100 registrations. So the registrations are still open anyway. Because of this reason itself, we reopened the registrations, because over the last few days, many of them haven't been taking the course seriously, and there are very few number of attendees. And simply because there are recordings doesn't mean that one can be very casual about this. And because without interacting here and talking here, it will be much more difficult to understand. And without having people here whom we can see if they're understanding, it's impossible to properly conduct the session and assess if the knowledge is benefiting them. So we shall keep the session tomorrow, and again we shall see if there are enough number of attendees for us to conduct the session. So after that we shall carry on. So that's all for now, and Shubharatri to everyone. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Achyutaya Namaha, Anantaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha, Achyutananto Govindebhyo Namo Namaha. ధన్యవాదాలు.